Welcome back to our series on Should You Read, this episode being One Up on Wall Street by Peter Lynch. What's in the book? The chapters dedicated are sectioned like this. Section 1, Preparing to Invest. Section 2, Picking Winners. And Section 3, The Long-Term View. In Preparing to Invest, there's qualities of an investor, gambling versus investing, and smart money on Wall Street. Section 2 is Stalking the 10-bagger, 6 types of stocks, famous numbers and his thoughts included, and getting the story of a company. Part 3 is the best time to buy and sell, going against the crowd, and lastly, designing a portfolio. We'll start with what I didn't like about One Up on Wall Street, and the first of which is the walls of text being written in the book. There's a lot of pages with nothing but words on paper and not much spacing, so it causes it to look like it's just a lot of rambling. And in the middle, there's charts and balance sheets, but not very much outside of that. It's only somewhat okay because it's a finance book, but it could be a lot better. Number 2, his choices were not expanded upon. He will often talk about stocks that he picked, such as Dunkin' Donuts and La Quinta and so on. Then he'll talk about why he did it, the qualitative reasons or just the numbers such as rapid growth and so on. However, he never gave dates he bought or for how much he bought it for, and I feel like that could have helped tremendously. Then I could have done something really cool. I could have looked at the 10K that year that he first started the buys and then compare the price that he did for versus what was displayed on the balance sheets and income statements. However, that wasn't given, so I'm not able to do that. Now let's go into what I liked about One Up on Wall Street, and the first is his humorous writing. It's honestly a good read whether you're into finance or not. Here's a section for people who don't have an edge, and his response to that. Can't think of any such opportunity in your life? What if you're retired, live 10 miles from the nearest traffic light, grow your own food, and don't have a television set? Well, maybe one day you have to go to the doctor. So even if you're not into finance, it's really interesting to hear his opinions and try to disagree with him, and then his responses to the people who disagree, and he puts it in a way that's interesting to read. So that way, even people in the log cabins out in the woods can say, even I have an edge. The second thing that I liked is that it delivers the message well. The message of the book is being one up on Wall Street, having an edge and using it to invest over the people on Wall Street that everybody takes for granted knows what they're doing. Why your experiences and knowledge is useful when you're making your investments. And to that extent, it really does show your advantages, and it directs your knowledge to picking stocks effectively, so that even if you're the little guy here, Peter Lynch is saying, you can do it, and it's really encouraging. The third thing I liked about One Up on Wall Street was his view towards investing. I like his approach and the way he thinks about it. He's extremely focused on the earnings. I know there's a lot of numbers that you can potentially look at, but he really has a laser focus on earnings growth and how the company is actually doing. And a high PE doesn't mean it's expensive. In isolation, having a high PE looks bad, but you need to depend on the earnings growth numbers in comparison with the PE to know if it's really a buy or not. And of course, the future upside potential in combination with that, because the PE is often very misunderstood, but I like Peter Lynch's opinions towards that and the growth that goes along with it. That being said, with the things that I liked and disliked about the book, let's go into my top 3 chapters. And number 1 chapter I feel is chapter 6, Stalking the 10-bagger. Number 2 is chapter 3, Is This Gambling or What? And number 3 is chapter 13, Some Famous Numbers. So the third best chapter, which was chapter 13, Some Famous Numbers, the main idea is investing's most popular numbers and his opinions on them, such as percent of sales, the cash position, the PE ratio, debt, dividends, cash flow, growth rate, and it helps get an idea of what he thinks is and is not important, and while looking at those, why it's important in comparison. And it's explained in a rational and simple way. The second best chapter is chapter 3, Is This Gambling or What? Where the main idea is why investing is worth the risk, and his thoughts on winning big and also losing money with investing. Because after all, you can't win them all. And even he goes into explanations of what companies he's put money into that didn't end up working out. And he gives the comparisons between professional stud poker players and professional investors. And he makes the case that investing doesn't have to be like living on the edge. because it's not the same as gambling, and he's going to explain the differences why in chapter 3. And then some of the other information that you'll find in that chapter is the benefits and disadvantages of bonds, how much money compounds depending on rates of return. Number 1 best chapter is chapter 6, Stalking the 10-Bagger. And this is the heart of the book. This is the reason why it's written. It goes over why you have an edge and how to use it. Using and seeing things every day to gain an advantage over Wall Street. And know what questions to ask and look for with investing. Some other ideas in chapter 6 is what happens when you invest in things you don't know and how you compare to thousands of other investors. But the question isn't, should I read it? The question is, should you read One Up on Wall Street? And if you are a brand new, no clue kind of investor, I would say yes. This is not a boring book, and it is great for new people who are trying to get into investing. Just reading it is fun enough on its own. And it helps ease the tension of investing for the first time because you might have a lot of nerves thinking you're going to make a lot of mistakes, or why would you ever have a chance against the people on Wall Street? And it gives you reasons why you can succeed. And it also helps explain concepts simply. What if you're a somewhat new investor where you understand business language but you don't have a lot of experience? Even then I would say yes. Perhaps you understand inventory, debt, and percent of sales, but maybe Peter's viewpoint would help you. What are some important numbers to look at across the categories? Cyclicals, turnarounds, slow growers, stalwarts, fast growers, and asset plays. Peter wants to write this book so that you can start off on the right foot. Well, what if you have moderate to lots of experience, a year plus of learning, plus having money in the market already? I'd say maybe not. The best part you would get is reading why you have an edge and how to use it. However, that's covered on the series I did in the channel and in other videos here on YouTube. About 1/3 of the book is going into pretty basic stuff, and it would likely not be that helpful to you. So for those of you interested in reading What Up on Wall Street, I have a link for this book in the description down below. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, smashing the like button, subscribing and hitting the bell if you're new would be greatly appreciated. And thank you so much for watching.